Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. First of all, apologies that I am not uploading videos since last 2-3 months because I was busy with something. But now when I started the uploading video, I am creating a new section called My Blunder, My Learning. This video is not for two-pawn endgame analysis or any position analysis or any game psychology, but this is about reviewing my own game. What are the thoughts that are coming in my mind when I try to play the actual game? Then how I develop my pieces, at which place I got stuck. Of course, everyone gets stuck, even Grandmaster gets stuck. So at the places where I get stuck, so I'll express everything. What are the emotions? What are the thoughts that are coming into my mind when I was playing the actual game? Of course, again, as my elo rating is around 13 to 1400. So if your elo rating between 1000 to 1600, there is something that you can connect with it. If your elo rating is above the 1600, of course, you can make fun of it that what a chess noob is. And if your elo rating is below 1000, then there is something that you can learn from it. Of course, this is not a perfect game, but still, let's see what we can learn from it and how this works. So without wasting any time, let's jump to the game. I'm not preparing with any opening. Actually, I am preparing some of the opening, but I am not applying it right now. So I'm playing as a white pieces and I started with e4. Of course, I follow the opening principle. Opponent respond with e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, both open up their knights. Then he tried to pin my knight and I'll try to pin his knight. Of course, in the beginning, to exchange the bishop for the knight is not considered to be as a good, but actually I want to disturb his pawn, so I'll as a white, I'll sacrifice my bishop and take his knight on the c6. Pawn takes the bishop. Position is still sort of equal. I start to push my pawn, and still black have a chance to capture my knight, and he create the weakness. I thought that's okay because even I have disturbed his structure somewhat. And when he take my knight and I'll take back his bishop, there is a chance I can take his pawn on the e5. But I don't know why I don't take it, because I thought I somehow trapped my knight and I lost my knight. So I didn't take it. He castle, I castle. So both side castle, and still I have a chance to take his pawn, but I didn't take it. He supported his pawn with the rook. So now there is no chance of pawn capture. I again tried to pin his knight with my bishop. He put attack on my bishop, which is very obvious and which is expected. I take back my bishop. And after that, he moved his queen to the d6, supporting his knight, and knight is no more pinned. I slightly confused whether should I take the knight or don't take, but I simply pushed my pawn to the h3 and decided to take back my bishop on the g3 so that I can defend the f4 square, because I have a little idea that if knight goes to the h5 and come back to the f4 square, then it becomes slightly challenging to defend that position. So I'll keep my bishop on the g3 square. So whenever time comes, I can simply take his knight. And of course, it's a simple exchange, nothing else. Point-wise is exchange. You know what piece is majorly effective at what time. And that's he put his knight on the h5. This is something which I expected already. So I move my bishop to g3, which is not a good move. Now I realize because he can take my bishop, and now I'll take back his knight, of course, but my both c3 and g3 pawn are weak. He pushed the pawn, I'll push the pawn, and I'll ask for the exchange, or I'll take his pawn. I don't know. He takes, I'll takes with the rook, and then he did some brilliant move. Of course, I will not consider it as brilliant, but he started exploiting my weakness with queen to c5 check, attacking on the c3 pawn as well. I need to move my king, and he takes the c3 pawn. Push my rook to the c4, attacking on its queen, and I have a chance to capture his c6 pawn. When he moves its queen, he has no way to defend its pawn. So I'll take back his pawn. He simply moves its queen to a5, defending on his c7 pawn. So somewhat I feel like the position is still equal. But then I realize that if I want to be in the game, why not exchange for the queen? And I'll move my queen to the d2 and ask for the exchange. He take the exchange and I'll take back with the knight. That's what actually I can do. Still the pawn on c7 is under attack. So he defend it, and I'll start moving the rook to the b1, thinking that maybe he tried to attack my knight. He tried to attack my rook with bishop to b7. So I try to defend the square. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. At least at that level, I don't understand. He simply pushes pawn to the f5. I didn't take it. I just simply pushed my rook back. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. He take the pawn. I'll take the pawn with the knight, and now we put attack on my knight with the bishop. Actually, knight is defended, so nothing to worry. I simply move my rook to the b7, thinking that both my rook is attacking on the c7 pawn, so I have a chance to capture the c7 pawn. He takes my knight, I'll take his bishop. When he tried to defend its pawn, I have a chance to capture the pawn on a7. So if you see this position, it is a sort of equal. I can say I'm just only one pawn up, but yeah, my structure is a little bit difficult to deal with, at least for me. I don't know for about the others. And if you can see the yellow bar, I'm slightly better. And point wise, I have also 1 point up in the game. He moved its rook to the d8. Maybe it's a blunder, or maybe I don't know, because now he lost his c7 pawn as well. Of course, he take back its rook, and still I don't understand why he did this. And actually, yellow bar is saying I'm 2 point up. It's okay, fine. I simply push the pawn to c4. This is actually an inaccuracy, which I suddenly realized when I move it, because now rook can jump on the d4 square, and now my e4 pawn is literally hanging. There is no way I can defend it. I asked for the exchange, but of course, opponent is not so stupid that he will take the exchange. So he go for e4 capture. Still, I'm a good in the position. Only I'm 1 point up in the game, but yellow bar is saying that I'm 2.5 or 2.4 point up in the position. So I'll go back to the d7. I'll push the rook to the d7. And now there is a chance something I can attack on the pawn on g7 very easily. He take back its rook to the a8. I don't know why. Maybe he want to give the check, but I don't know why, how effective it is. I take the pawn on g7 check, king to f8. I push the pawn to the c5, which is actually blunder, because in this case, I think I should go to the c7 check. And when king goes to e8, I simply go back to the b7, and both I am ready to give the checkmate on the g8. So actually he need to do something. So for that, he has to give me the check. I'll go to the h2, and now he's reaching to the f1 just to defend its checkmate. That time I can simply go to the h7 and attack on the h6 pawn. This is something that need to be done, but that's not what I did. I simply pushed the pawn on the c5. He gave me the check and start pushing his own pawn. Till now, I even don't realize it, because I was still chance to do the same thing, and I push my pawn. He start pushing his pawn. Actually, there is not much to worry, because my rook is still aiming on the e3 pawn. I'll push the pawn, and unfortunately, when the pawn is one step away from the pawn promotion, I'll did the blunder and move my rook to the a7. This is where actually I was 5 point down in the game. Suddenly, from the 4 point up in the game, when I did this, it's a clear kill blunder. He take the rook, I'll take the rook. And now he is just 1 step away from the pawn promotion, and I am 2 steps away from the pawn promotion. Of course, and he is aiming on my pawn, and I have a no aim on his pawn. So he's clearly 8 point up in the game. I feel like this is the most stupid thing I can do. I thought about resigning the game, but actually, I don't know why I keep on playing. And actually, I did. I pushed the pawn to the c7. Black promote with the queen. I should promote, but I think when I'll promote, I lost my queen. So I first give the check. When king moves, I'll promote. This is something start interesting happening from this position. If you think properly, and if you can see the yellow bar, that's a mate in 2, which opponent can very easily do if he knows how to do that. And of course, I'm not have any doubt on his ability, because he's in good position than me. So of course he can do. The idea is very simple. He can go to he can give the e5 check, and whereas the king don't have any move left with, so he has forced to push his pawn to the g3 to defend the check, and queen to e2 is actually checkmate. But unfortunately, black didn't see it, and he pushes queen to h1 check. I'll simply push my king g3, and that is what actually he takes some time, and then actually he decided to take my queen, and this is actually a draw as per the yellow bar. But still, I don't know it that it's a draw. I'll take back its rook. He tried to give the check. I'll push my king to the h2. Again, I have an idea that I should resign, but I don't know why I keep moving. I'll start giving the check, but I know why I can't give much check, because he has a queen on the board. I'll simply push the rook, and when he again give the check, I keep on the eye that I didn't fall for the double attack when I lost my rook. So I'll go to the A1 and I'll simply push my rook to the F1. That time I slightly realized that alone with one queen, actually opponent can't give me the checkmate. He need to take the support from his king. So he start moving his king. That's what I realized. And at the time I was realizing that I have this two good square that is called F3 and F5. I can keep rotating my rook on this two square and try to make it draw. And I don't know. I'm not sure with that. He give me the check. That doesn't work effectively. I'll simply push the king to h2. Again, try to give the check. I'll again go there. And I don't know what to do, but actually in this position, I guess this is a check and I cannot push the pawn with the check because then he'll take the pawn and I destroy my structure and king have to go somewhere. He can start and king have to go to the h1 and again he can give check. So I again decided to go back to the h1 square. He bring its king, and that's threatening checkmate. On the he's threatening b1 checkmate, but I know the strength of my rook, and I simply move rook to the f3 check. He again have to go back to the h4. I'll again push my rook to the f5, and that's what my whole idea is. Actually, I'm little bit back foot on the time because I have only 2 minutes left on the clock, and he has a 5 minute left on the clock. So he have a slight advantage, at least on the time basis. So I don't know how long I can hold this position, but I have an idea that if I'll keep on the f5 square, actually I can take the pawn on the h5 if he move its pawn to the h5. He give me the check on the b1. I'll again go to the h1, h2. Now there is no chance he can push his king to g3, so he move its queen to the e1. And that's there. I guess this is the most important learning lesson that I have learned, that if I'll keep on fighting and in this fight, unfortunately, without observing my position, he simply pushes queen to the e1 thinking that a next move g3 would check. But he forgot about checkmating one move that I can do when his king is completely trapped. And unfortunately, I messaged him that he played a good game, and I simply move my rook to the h5. And it's a brilliant checkmate. After his all efforts he was trying to do without observing that his position is not winnable at all, or at least he should make his position completely winnable, not trapping its own king. He did that, and he ended up from very good position. First, he make a position equal, and at last he lost the game. So the learning lesson is not focus only on your moves, but also keep eye, even if you feel like your opponent's position is weak, but there should be some chance even in the opponent's side as well, if you can't see it. But in this case, the game was actually a draw. He should accept a draw, or he should offer a draw. He didn't do any of this. And unfortunately, with rook to h5 is checkmate. Thanks for watching today's video, and do subscribe to our channel for more informative video related to chess.